This is Deborah Atkinson. Welcome to the Flipping 50 show, where I address your top questions and challenges so you can have more ease and less decision fatigue about what to eat, how to move, and habits that help you flip 50 for a life and energy you love in this second half. Today, I'm taking a break from our Summer Inspire series. So, by all means, know that we're not quite done. So, an endless summer lover. So, we're going to extend this as long as we possibly can. And there are a few of my guests, my hopeful guests, that I need to circle back around to. And I'm going to make sure that we get those in before the leaves start turning and the kickoff starts to happen. But today, what I want to do is go over some myth busting. I'm on this kind of rant, if you will, and I think it's super important because, especially in summer, as we start to uncover, come out from under wraps, depending on which climate you're in, that happens more so. We get a little bit more conscious about weight, where we're carrying extra weight, where we have parts of our body that we don't love, and we're potentially dwelling on those more than the parts of our body that we do love. So that can be typical for women, no matter what time of year we're talking about. But I really want to go into elaboration on a blog post that really recently I posted. In fact, the day that this podcast goes live, I am recording. The day it goes live, the blog that I'm posting on the very same day is all about calories in, calories out, and that myth busted, why it's such a failure and why it's so hard for us. If you're a woman who's in midlife, approaching 50 and definitely on the other side, why it's so hard to give that up, even though we have every evidence that it's not working. And I go into the research that talks about both sides. So the calories in, where we get our energy, where we get our calories, obviously from food. Although it may feel like you're inhaling air sometimes right now and you're getting weight from that, the truth is it comes from food, and it comes from the reaction that happens in your body because of that food. And that's really what that blog is all about, the cascade effect that occurs from the foods we eat. And then on the flip side, I also addressed the calories out, that equation where we think we're burning calories, we're burning fat, and we're sometimes choosing our exercise based on how many calories will it burn. And, then whether we consciously think about this or not, we're thinking about ourselves as a math equation where you've taken in a certain amount of calories and your body takes or requires a certain amount of calories to operate on a daily basis, both at rest plus the exercise you do. We're trying to create a deficit between what we burn and use and what we take in. And we think that's the goal and the key to weight loss, particularly fat loss. And that blog really points to the fact that that thought process is gone. It's over. That idea has come and gone, and it's not doing us any good anymore. And definitely, we notice it more. Now, a 20 or 30-year-old may be able to go through that and have some results for a period of time. But what's happening is there's a foundation being laid there that is unstable. And eventually, over years, maybe decades of doing that roller coaster of losing weight from that deficit, you're losing a lot of muscle mass, you're decreasing your metabolism over time, so that more and more you put yourself behind the eight ball. You cannot, repeating that same thing that seemed to work superficially. And those are the key words. So yes, you could say, well, that diet worked. The only time I can ever lose weight, I hear this frequently, the only time I can ever lose weight is counting calories. But I'm talking about a new way, a new style, a new thought process of losing weight to someone who needs weight loss. So clearly, if you're saying that and you're defending the way that it worked for you, if it worked, you would not be in the same spot again. because you could easily go right back to it and turn it up. The problem is you regain it. So it might work temporarily, but usually later in life, by the time you reach your 50s and your 60s, your body won't do that again. It just won't. And so the mistakes we've made are amplified at midlife. That doesn't mean you can't have success. So I want to tell you signs and symptoms so that you know that your metabolism is actually being boosted, that you're making the right choices with your nutrition and with your exercise specifically. So I'm really going to address exercise. We can't exercise without nutrition, right? We've got to have some energy coming in. So there is, no way to discount completely. I'm not talking about nutrition. However, I'm really trying to dwell on how do you know you have the right exercise? Because the truth is, the right exercise does fantastic things for boosting your mood, your metabolism, your cognitive ability to think, problem solve, be creative and productive. And it also increases and enhances your sleep quality, if not quantity, and makes you more resilient to stress. All those things are pluses for exercise. And so many things that we know are connected to over 80 diseases can be prevented and or treated if you've already got them before you begin with exercise. But it's the right kind of exercise can do those positive things. The wrong kind of exercise does these kinds of things. Actually slows your metabolism down, actually decreases or doesn't enhance. What's the opposite of that? I'm searching for my words here, not doing very well. With your mood. You've got an unstable mood. You're up and down, and that goes hand in hand with your energy level. You crash. You still crash. You have to recover. And instead of boosting, your energy level for the rest of the day, which is what the right dose for you of exercise does, the wrong dose actually makes you want to take a nap and rest and sit on the couch. So there are a lot of studies that show there's a sweet spot for us. And if we look at overall energy expenditure, long distance endurance athletes or exercisers, overzealous potentially exercisers, don't burn more energy over the course of a day than do people who exercise moderately, who are then just active all day because they've got more energy to do it. So really that's where you want to be. It's what I call NEAT. And I didn't label this. This is actually a thing. Non-exercise activity time. It's also called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, when you rev up your metabolism because you're gardening all day. Or you come home after a workout and you're just, boom, I've got tons of energy, and you clean your house like a maniac. I wish that would happen to me, but that one does not. Or maybe you spend all day in the kitchen. You're doing your prep for the week, so your meals are done. It's easy to do the right thing. That takes energy. When you have an active life, plus a little hits of exercise, and I say that, as in hits and fixes, I don't mean only high intensity interval training. That's kind of what comes to mind right now because we're just so saturated with that. But all of that contributes more so to total energy expenditure at the end of the day being greater. That in the end is your example of those lean people. Those people who seemingly are just lean naturally. And maybe they're not those people who exercise all the time. And you might be comparing yourself to them thinking, I exercise all the time and I'm not losing weight. That is an infamous statement right there. I hear that so frequently. And that's the key. Probably if you're exercising so much, you're actually stressing your body out, creating more inflammation, and your body is not going to shed weight when you're doing that. Here's the other kind of caveat is if you are creating inflammation and then you're fearful of fat and you think I'm eating way too much fat and I'm not losing weight, so that must be it. That is your 1980s gal calling you, and you need to hang up the phone. Don't answer when she calls, because healthy fats decrease your inflammation. If you're not giving your body that, and potentially you're over exercising and you're simply over stressed at work and you really don't look forward to very many things during your week, like every single day, you don't have something that is just juicy that you love. Now, I'll have to tell you, personal story, I don't have a lot of outside activities that I love right now. I actually bought or rented a mountain house where I'm living alone with my dog and up here in nature with an amazing view. So many of you have seen it on my social media sites. But I'm up here so I don't have much distraction. I can't like run to the grocery store, which I know that's not a very sexy activity, but actually it's a distraction. And so being able to go, it means that's the way I was raised in a super small town where it was 10 minutes to the grocery store, and then actually moved to a small college community, bigger, but the grocery store is still 10 minutes away. So it was easy to go get something if I just didn't kind of felt meh about what I'd planned for dinner or whatever. But those little distractions, you get there and then you go down a rabbit hole and it's not the 2 things you went in for, it's the 12 that you come back out with. You've spent time and wasted energy. I don't have that. So I'm here because I really have some projects that I wanted to get done and focus on. And, because I don't have other people living in my house, it's both an advantage and a disadvantage. Sometimes it's good to have that outside stimulus and, can get a little bit lonely, but I like being alone and don't find that in itself lonely. I get creative and I, reach out and talk to, my primary stimulus for creativity and love and, pump me up very regularly, multiple times a day. But that's what I look forward to. So every day there is that for me. I get up and I am excited about, knowing this is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm creating. This is what I'm improving. And I'm talking about programs that we offer through Flipping 50. I get excited about sharing blogs and podcasts that I feel will propel you to, here's another piece of information, take this, plant this seed, even if you're not ready to absorb and implement yet, it might be the one of 7 times you need to hear it. And I want to be a part of that. If you're not where you want to be right now, getting into the next spot is really important. I like that. So that is something to look forward to. And, if you're spending a lot of time at work or work plus a commute, if you love your work, that's one thing. If you're not loving your work, that may need some examining. Can you make a change? And if you can't make a change, can you start to do something else on the side so that you do still have that thing that juices you and gets you excited and your life has more purpose? That's important. Okay, now let's dive into this. How do you know? Here's exactly how I know my sweet spot. And let me tell you that after exercising regularly for, it's now been 38 years, right? So I've been in the fitness profession for 34, right? So actually 36 years I've been exercising regularly. And I mean that as, something that was self-selected, that I really chose to do, not going out for a sport in high school and, having to do certain things, or not choosing to lifeguard in high school and having to go and do the laps and put in all the time to, meet the quota, the guidelines that we had to meet either to get there or to stay there. None of that. This is all, when I started walking, and then that walking slowly became jogging, and I was choosing to do it myself. That's what I'm talking about. So for 36 years, that's been me. For 34, so about 2 years into it, I decided, I actually want to be an authority, an expert, and I want to help other people do this. And mastery is really important to me. So knowing my stuff, having my credentials, being able to share with other people, and, being in the know, super important to me. But all that said, I still have to re-examine, am I in my sweet spot? Because I'm a female who's 53, and the rules change. What I did to exercise at 33 when, I was in my prime, what I did at 23, would not serve me really well at 53. So certainly I've still got to listen. Here's how I know. I'm going to give you 6 ways on both sides of the coin that I know are signs that I'm choosing the exercise that actually helps my metabolism, that reduces signs of aging. I'm pro-aging. I'm not anti-aging. I want to be the best at every age, and I hope that's what you want too. I'm not about pretending I'm not 53. I'm just at, let's just drop the, oh, you're doing what at your age, or you look great at 50. I wish I looked like that. I love and hate that. Who doesn't like a compliment? I've got to put my hand up. Sure, I like that. However, what I really want is the day to come when we don't have an expectation about what 50 looks like. I mean, what did you think? Am I supposed to look bad because I'm 53? That's, I think, where we need to get, and really challenge. And so looking at, I catch myself as well. If I see a 70-year-old, I'm going to say, wow, but that's the goal, I think, is to get to not having an expectation about what age means, because we're just people with abilities at all different ages, and choosing to pursue the ability and push it, that's our choice. So 6 ways I know I'm choosing the right exercise. 6 ways that I know I may be going down the wrong path. Things and evidence. This is for myself, what I've witnessed in clients, both private clients that I work with, VIP, primarily professional women who are really seeking, I need time efficient, I need support, and or women who are just looking for, I feel great, love to exercise, but I'm not getting the results I want. They want to go to the next level and keep going. So everyone's got a need for a coach at some point. So here's where we go. So 6 ways. Let's do the positive side first. 6 ways I know I'm choosing right down the right lane. Number 1, so my exercise is optimized. I know if I've got a better mood, most consistently. So everybody gets in a bad mood because if something happens, my thing is usually technology, right? Something gets interrupted, the internet isn't working at the house because I'm in the mountains, or the phone, or that something is dropping. But other than that, pretty stable mood, pretty good. You've got optimism more often than you've got pessimism. You're optimistic about what you can do as opposed to thinking about what you can't. That's definitely 1. Number 2, the second way I know I'm in the sweet spot as far as the exercise that really helps me is I have a desire to be more active. And I alluded to this before. You've got to find your sweet spot so that you don't exercise and then feel like, I've got to compensate now. I need a nap, or I'm going to rest the rest of the day on the couch. You probably can't put your head down at work. So if you're totally trashing yourself and just pushing to the extreme and burning yourself out, I think we talk about it like, don't leave anything on the table, work really hard. But here's the measure I use, always have. If you don't bounce back in 2 hours after exercise and you don't have more energy than before you started to exercise, you've gone too far, right? So either that, there may be those people listening who haven't quite done enough, that you've got to really look at where you are. And it's not, a measure of any speed or duration or distance, because some of you listening may be suffering from adrenal fatigue. So what it takes for you might be a 10-minute walk outdoors, and that's it. That might be your sweet spot. For others of us, maybe it's a 6-mile run, jog at an easy pace. For others, maybe it's 20 to 30 minutes of interval training, and that's your sweet spot. So find it, and you may have multiple of those that are longer and slower, shorter, more high intensity interval, strength training we haven't talked about, but all of those fit. You've got to find 2 hours after, do I bounce back and I feel better? And desire to do more. So when you come home and you're high energy and you want to tackle those physical things, we all have that list, right? The honeydew list, or it's you've created one that you're the honey. So, whether it's weed whacking or it's mowing the lawn or it's cleaning the house, whatever it is, you actually feel like being more active in doing those things. Number 3 is actually feeling lighter. If you've exercised appropriately, you feel lighter, not heavier. You feel looser, and it may be a factor of, having sweat a little bit and you've lost a little water weight, that might be there making you feel bloated, but it is this feeling of lightness. And I don't have a great way to describe it other than that. But my legs feel lighter. The rest of me feels lighter. I'm just kind of loosened up and ready to go. And if you cross the threshold and you've been here, you know what I mean, you'd actually feel heavier. You feel heavier and tighter and things don't quite work. So I'm spilling the beans for the other side. But the 4th way that I know, this 4th sign or symptom evidence that I'm in the right spot is I get comfortably hungry regularly. It's about every 3 to 4 hours that I notice, okay, I could eat something. Now, if I don't, I have to delay for another hour or hour and a half because of scheduling or meetings, or, I'm in transition between something and I can't stop and eat. I'm okay. But I do notice, that I've got that hunger kind of kicking in. And it's not a hit me in the face, I got to eat right now or I'm going to hurt somebody. It's not that. If you've ever been pregnant before, that's the kind of hunger that I would experience when I was pregnant. It would be like, I'm not hungry, and then boom, I am hungry right now. Let's find food, right? I mean, it's just that. And I didn't have blood sugar issues, but it was just like, all right, it's time, right? I'm feeding too, let's do it. Not that. So it's comfortable hungry. That's a sign your metabolism is working. Your stomach is clearing, you're digesting, your body's using the fuel that you gave it earlier, and now boom, you're hungry. All right? But again, not crazy, out of control hunger. The 5th one is stable energy. So that might go right with stable mood, but literally stable energy throughout the day. There is no up and down. It's not like you're in hyper mode and then it's like, oh, I need to sit down. Really, you're just going. It's, there is no crazy, like you're on crack or the Energizer Bunny, and you're not running out of gas either. You have pretty stable energy. Even in that deadly afternoon time that gets such a bad rap, or late afternoon or evening, it's pretty stable. You're right where you need to be. And the last one, number 6, is sleep is improved. It's enhanced, or it's at its optimal. And maybe for you, if you've always been a good sleeper, you're not screwing it up. Here's the deal. You already have this great thing going, and your job is not to screw it up. So I've got that. So those 6 signs and symptoms that you're doing the right thing, you're in your sweet spot as far as exercise goes, are, better mood consistently, desire to be more active. You just become a more active person because you're fit. You feel lighter. Just overall, you feel lighter. So you may notice the difference. Everybody's got to have days off where, you still feel lighter overall than, if you went through a period of time you weren't exercising. But on those days when you don't exercise, you just don't quite have that lighter feeling. You are comfortably hungry, at regular intervals throughout the day. Not too much, not too little. Number 5 is you've got stable energy all day. No highs, no lows, no crashes, no, crazy on crack. Who is that? What is she doing? Like a whirlwind woman. And the last but not least is improved sleep. So let's go down the funnel so all right, you're one of those people potentially where you're exercising and it's like, I'm not getting results. I'm exercising all the time and I'm not seeing results. Here's another list to dig through. So that is the obvious one for you. If your primary goal is weight loss, where you want to tone certain body parts up, or you're looking for, losing inches and you're not seeing that result, look here as more evidence that potentially you're not in your sweet spot. You may need less exercise or you may need more. Typically, most women need less and they need more food because they've already done some good. They've changed their metabolism, they've established this foundation. But when you become more fit, your fit body requires more fuel, not less. So the intuitive response when you're not getting results is to eat less or think that's what you should be doing. We don't all have the discipline to do that, but it's actually not. You potentially may need to fuel more. And both men and women are guilty of this when they're struggling or wanting more fitness, better energy, more weight loss. We tend to cut back. And yet, you've got this fit body. You better treat it like an athlete. You got to put gas in the vehicle, okay? Here are the 6 ways to know you're not quite in your sweet spot. Number 1, you have waves of kind of anxiety. Now, that's a really strong word. So, anxiety and depression both go hand in hand here. And I don't mean as far as diagnosis goes, it could be, but you have more of that kind of highs and lows where you're really anxious about things and you don't even know what it is you're anxious about, but you experience that and you might notice that more toward the end of the day. But there's also that, wave of depression, like something you might have been optimistic about 5 minutes ago. Suddenly you're, I don't know, maybe that won't happen and you're second guessing. That kind of spinning up and down, is more evident that, something's not quite right. Number 2 is you've got this desire to rest, probably much more so than being hyperactive. If you're not in your sweet spot, you're going to, couch compensate. You're going to be, willing to go to a movie instead of wanting to go swimming. You're going to, want to sit on the deck and manage the job as opposed to do the yard work. You're not going to want to dive into physical tasks. You're going to want to read a book or relax or be okay sitting at a desk all day. That's, not indicative of enhanced energy from exercise. Number 3 is you feel the opposite of lighter. You feel more heavy, more tight, more sore post-exercise. Too regularly, too often. Number 4 is you're starving and you don't make great choices. You really get hungry and you potentially overcompensate for your exercise. So there is no, predictable rhyme and reason to when you get hungry or how you might in fact get hungry within 1 to 2 hours after you eat, even if you eat a good meal. Physiologically, really, you shouldn't be hungry, but you are for some reason. Your appetite generally, if you're doing too much exercise or too much long, slow kinds of exercise, your appetite is going to kind of kick in. It's going to try to compensate for you. Number 5 is you're just crashing. You don't really recover and you don't have that stable energy at all. You're just kind of down, out, trying to recover for your next workout, and that's your focus. So you're all about, conserving energy, but you're all about that 30 minutes or 60 minutes that happens that, isn't your life. It's just exercise inside of the gym. So you're dwelling on that. And maybe, I've seen this happen. You take your kids, say, to the pool. Maybe it's your grandkids. You take them to the swimming pool and you are resting on the lounge chair. You don't want to be in there. You don't want to be active with them. And, you're taking a nap to recover, rest, because you're going to do another workout or you did a workout this morning. I've watched this happen again and again with, more figure competitors or bodybuilders who, get into that and call it a sport. And I hate to be doing this. I could very well be offending somebody listening, But my challenge is if it's, a sport that you're doing to better yourself, if it's something that pays you really, really well, that's another thing. But if it's a sport that you enjoy, that's a hobby that you're pursuing and it makes you healthier, shouldn't you have more energy? So looking at, how does it affect and impact the other 23 hours, or, in that case, it might be 22 or 20 hours, because there's a lot of time spent on that. But you're crashing in between. You're not more energetic. The sixth one is, as far as your sleep goes, you're probably waking more frequently. If that's you, you go to sleep, you are so ready for bed, you're tired, but you're actually wired. Your body can't kind of come down. And even though you may be crashing during the day, suggesting you are really tired, you can't sleep when it comes time to sleep. So those are the 6 signs that you're not in your sweet spot, and more likely with all of those, doing too much, not doing too little. And that was, again, just waves of, anxiety and or depression. Could be both, back and forth. Number 2 is the desire to, rest, really. I mean, you want to sit, relax, that's it. Number 3 is just feeling heavier, sore, tight. Number 4 is you're starving. When you get hungry, it's like, eat now. I need something. And you're pretty vulnerable probably then. If nothing good is around, you're probably most likely to crash. And number 5 is literally crashing. You're crashing, you're not recovered. A couple of hours later, you are still, pretty tired, willing to sit, wanting to sit. 6, the very last one, is sleep. So, and that's all going to play back into the other 5. If you're not sleeping well, you can't stay asleep, you can't get to sleep, and that usually is not the issue. You can probably get to sleep, but you're waking frequently and or waking really too early, not getting solid sleep. That's a sign you're exercising a little bit too much. So you're not allowing yourself the rest and recovery to happen in those easier days in between. Those are the signs and symptoms that you're either in your sweet spot for exercise, you're doing just the right amount, or you're doing too little, but probably doing too much is much more the case. So if I have hit on a hot spot for you or made you think of some questions as follow-up, if you want to submit a question, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com. That's all words spelled out, no spaces. And join us on the Facebook fan page at Flipping50TV is the URL. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave a rating in iTunes. It really helps. And then share this with a friend, so you surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. Over and over again, it is environment that tends to either support you positively, becoming who you want to be, doing the things you want to do, or negatively, kind of causing you to settle and feel like you've got so much resistance that it's too much work. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.